Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
Welcome to the NBA Outlet, presented by OTG Basketball. We want to thank you for listening to the podcast. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at OTG Basketball. I am your host, Parth Goradia, and joining me on this Sunday afternoon to recap the past week, talk NBA player rankings, hip-hop in the NBA, and make weekly picks are Nick Fay and John Aiello. What's up, guys?
What's up, Parth?
Yo, what's going on? Happy Sunday to everybody.
Yeah, happy Sunday.
Hope everybody has a good work week ahead of them.
Good work week. And if you are feeling down, just know that you can top the man after what the Lakers did to Golden State just a couple minutes ago.
We need a Kevin Garnett anything is possible sound clip right now.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yep, I did not think the Lakers are going to get that win today.
Yeah. Golden State played pretty poorly, and then D'Angelo. I didn't see the first half, but I think D'Angelo Russell played well, and Clarkson hit some tough threes in the second half too.
Russell's turned it up of late. He's had some nice games this week.
He was doing some things in the second half where I was like, wow, that like is kind of like just the way he comes off the pick and roll and his shot just reminds me a lot of Steph Curry and some. But I don't like not gonna say he's gonna be Steph Curry, but you know.
That's funny. That's funny you mentioned that because he had a Steph Curry moment in this game where he shot the three from a corner, and then turned around immediately and ran back, kind of what Steph does. And of course he made the shot.
Yeah.
So I don't quite see the comparison as of yet, but he had a Steph moment.
Yeah, I just the way he came off the screen, the way he just shot the ball, he looked like a left-handed Steph. It just looked really similar, but he's got a lot of confidence. I think it could be.
Yeah, he definitely is a confident kid.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I guess we'll get into it. Our weekly recap. I'll start, and my weekly recap. I guess a good transition from who we were just talking about. Steph Curry came out. The story was released today that he came out and talked and said that Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance will never be topped. And he went on to say some other things about there's a reason people are still talking about it. Blah blah blah. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it and see. Do you think it will ever be topped? If so, by whom?
I personally don't think it'll be topped. It's just difficult to make that many jump shots and still be in the game to where your team still needs you to score. Like usually if someone's scoring that many points, it's a blowout. But Kobe against the Raptors, when that happened, his team was down and he kind of carried them back into the game and then put it away himself. So I just don't think, like, there's a lot of variables that have to go right. You have to obviously be in the zone, and the score and time have to dictate that to where you have to score that much. So I don't think that perfect storm ever happens.
Yeah, I would agree with Parth. I agree with Parth on this. I don't think it's ever going to happen from the fact that what he mentioned about the player and all the variables haven't happened, and I don't think another coach is going to let that happen. Letting someone score 80 points, I mean, after 50, you got to do something to make sure that guy doesn't score again. You know what I mean? If you're losing that bad to one person, that's crazy. That means you should probably get fired the next day.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason, like, or something people don't talk about with Kobe's 81-point game was like that Sam Mitchell was the Raptors head coach, and he's one of the worst head coaches of all time. And it's
Dude, Sam Mitchell's, I'm pretty sure he's won a Coach of the Year award.
When he was with the Raptors?
I think so.
He might have 1 year.
He's doing a horrible job with the Timberwolves right now. So.
I know a lot of people don't like his coaching style.
I don't think he's a good coach. In my opinion, he's one of the worst coaches of. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty well-known thing that people say he's not a good coach. But
nah, dude, you're in the majority with that opinion there.
Yeah. I didn't.
He won Coach of the Year, I'm pretty sure, in the past. So there's that nugget for you.
Yeah, but it's like, how do they didn't double team that entire game against? It's like, how does that happen? But I think if there was someone to do it, I think it would be Steph. I think KD could do it if Russ was hurt, like what Russ wasn't playing, and KD. I think there's only like two guys, maybe Harden. I mean, I can't really think of anybody else.
You might even need like double overtime, like for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so too.
All right, for my weekly recap, earlier this week, Chris Birdman Anderson was on the Chris Vernon show on 92.9 FM ESPN, and that's a local show in the Memphis area. And they were asking him about a bunch of different things, and they got to the topic of hunting. So Birdman said, "Yeah, I hunt animals, four-legged and two-legged." To which Vernon replied, "Two-legged?" Kind of asking a question, Birdman, and then Birdman replied with the best radio response I've heard in a long time. He said, "Yes, women." Oh, how I miss Birdman in Miami. What a great interview. And like the crazy thing is that when you see Birdman, you think he would talk like a Nate Diaz for UFC from USC, for example. But he's like a really well-spoken guy. And when he was on Inside the NBA during the 2013 Eastern Conference Finals, even Kenny the Jet and Charles Barkley echoed that sentiment, saying like, "Dude, we did not expect to hear you talk so eloquently with all your tattoos." Like they said that, and I'm with them on that. Birdman's a great interview, great response here. Just a fun guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Can't really blame him, for I'd love to see Birdman on the prowl in the club after a few drinks. I bet he really turns up.
Birdman actually, if I'm not mistaken, made an appearance in Ballers, and he was on the prowl for women in the show. He went after one of the characters' wives or girlfriends.
Yeah, it was I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I forget what the guy says to him. He's like, "Yeah, that's why I'm happy LeBron left Miami," or something like that.
Yeah, he did say that. Dude, funny thing about about Birdman is, have you guys ever seen the MTV show Catfish?
Yeah, I've heard this story. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Birdman was on it, like he wasn't catfish or anything, but they brought him up on the show, and apparently he was like extorted or blackmailed or something about having sex with a 17-year-old or something at the time. It was bizarre. I would go check out the show before you go listen to me. I don't know if my information is completely accurate, but there was an episode with Birdman on there, and it was pretty bizarre. So yes, he does hunt two-legged animals.
Well, and he was just cleared of all the charges before the season, right? Or like in the beginning of the season. I know it was pretty recent.
I think it was back when he was with Miami that they cleared him.
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of the year, like right before the season started, that he was cleared.
But bizarre circumstances there.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. But for my weekly recap, I know we mentioned Steph Curry before. So Steph's changing the game of basketball, but he's also changing basketball video games. Mike Wang, the visual concepts director, says Steph Curry, he breaks all the rules we have in place for terms of good shot and a bad shot would be. It's going to take some fundamental changes in our game code. So, I mean, Steph Curry he's so crazy that you can't even do what he does in real life in a video game.
Yeah, real life Steph Curry is better than video game Steph Curry. I think he's proved that. There was actually after the game against the Thunder on Saturday night when he hit that huge 38-footer to win. One guy I saw on Twitter tried to replicate that on his 2K, and he was shooting 40-foot air balls with Steph. And he was like, "Dude, I'm never buying 2K again. This is so unrealistic." And that just goes to show like what you're talking about. Steph is ridiculous. He's better than the video game.
It's awesome just to witness. I mean, they're literally going to have to change the coding on their game to make it more realistic for one player.
Yeah. Well, I know right now when you play, when you get to a certain point, they don't even when you get to a certain point past half court, they don't even shoot jump shots. They're still shooting like half court heaves and stuff. And so they'll have to, it's pretty wild that he's just going to have to, he's single-handedly he's going to have to change the game just because people want to play with him so much and they want to do the stuff that he's doing in real life.
So that wraps it up for that. Now we're going to talk about our player rankings on OTGbasketball.com. Parth comes up with these. We got top 5 for pretty much everything out there. So new batch of rankings. I know Parth, you came up with these.
So yeah, I try to update these at the end of each month, and of course there's certain factors that might push a player down or push a player up. For example, I don't believe Jimmy Butler's been the fifth best 2 guard this season, but he was basically hurt all of February. So it's kind of like how do I account for that? How do I move people up? How do I move people down based on someone's injury, and that sort of thing. So, for example, another example would be Blake Griffin moving out of the power forward section. Like he hasn't played in like 2 months. So how can I include him in there? But as soon as he comes back and if he starts playing well, he's right back in the rankings. So it's a tough thing I struggle with here in terms of where to put players if they have been hurt based on other players who've been playing, they're available, and it's a tough situation. But I mean, do you guys have any changes that you would make?
Well, I think it's important part mentioned that he updates them every month, and this is based off this play. So this isn't what he considers top 5 for like the best players in the league. This is off their current level of play. So that's important. One thing I noticed you had KD over LeBron, and I agree with that. I think that was a nice switch that you made. Nothing else I think really sticks out. I would just wonder, was Kevin Love a clear-cut number 5 for you, or did you have somebody you had hanging around or fighting with him for that 5th spot?
No, well, a lot of the power forwards that I would throw in that top mix, or even around the top 5, are hurt right now. Bosh is gone. Blake Griffin's hurt. Derek Favors has missed a lot of games. So it was kind of like Kevin Love by default, and his numbers are not bad this season. But when you talk about Kevin Love, you just don't feel like he has the impact that some of these other guys with maybe even lesser numbers have.
Agreed. A lot of the power forwards are hurt like right now, so that definitely takes a toll on that. What about centers? I mean, Pau Gasol he's definitely picked it up towards the second half of the season.
I'm really tempted to put Karl Anthony Towns in there, but I just don't think he's done enough to impact winning.
Yeah, that's a good point because the Timberwolves aren't very good.
But like his stats are great. Like he's a better defender than Pau Gasol. He's probably a little more versatile at this point. Pau's obviously more polished, but
his activity levels.
Man. Towns is definitely coming.
Yeah, I watched him last night actually for a bit against the Nets, and he's just great. I mean, it's also like his activity level, energy. He's just very high, active. I definitely could see the point of putting him at number 5.
And then Brook Lopez was in that mix too. But
yeah,
Brook
definitely.
How do I choose between Pau and Brook? The winning percentages are so different for their teams. Brook is probably the better individual player at this point, but there's a lot of factors that go into these rankings. It's not an exact science. I'm definitely wrong on a lot of these, but it's the best that I could do.
I want to see the Clippers play without DeAndre Jordan for like an extended period of time because like I feel like it's hard to gauge his value because he doesn't do much offensively besides catch lobs and everything. So I would love to see him out of the lineup and just you can see how important he is because like I feel like he's not the 3rd best center in the NBA, but I don't know.
No, that's fair. I agree with that. But I think the fact that he's picked up his game along with JJ Redick, who's not on this list, and Chris Paul have also picked up his game with Blake Griffin being out. So I think that's kind of why I have him on here as number 3.
I think DeAndre is more valuable than the Clippers than he might be to another team unless they have a top-tier point guard. Chris Paul makes him so much better than he really is for the fact he runs that pick and roll and he can set up in the lob, and it helps the whole offense because he's just so big and he's so athletic in the paint. You know what I mean? If you don't get a body on him at the right time, it's definitely a lob.
Yeah. He's I forget who I was listening to one day, but he's kind of one of those guys that like there's 2 ways you can space the floor. You can space the floor by having like 3-point shooters out there, or you can have someone like DeAndre Jordan who dives to the rim and sucks in the entire defense. And when you have so many 3-point shooters out there for the Clippers, him being out there just like spaces the floor for the entire team.
That's exactly what Andre Drummond does for the Pistons.
Right, yeah, exactly. Because you got to guard the lob.
Yeah.
You can't just give him lobs all day.
What about the overall rankings, guys? Any thoughts on those?
I mean, I think Steph is. I think what he's doing right now. I think he's the best. LeBron and KD, I feel like is like you can easily flip. I feel like LeBron and KD, I think you could flip flop. I think Russell is 4th, and I think Kawhi maybe is 5th. I still think maybe Chris Paul with what he's doing with the Clippers. I think he should get some recognition too. But overall, I'm fine with the list.
Yeah, it's always tough to judge a Spurs player just for the fact is you don't really know like how much of an impact he's having because the whole team is so great. Because I can see your point with Chris Paul because he's doing so much. with the injury to Blake Griffin, but Kawhi's been consistent. Is he still the top? He's still shooting the top 3-point percentage?
Kawhi?
Yeah, he was for a while.
I wouldn't know that. I feel like JJ Redick should be up there now too. He's been balling for the last 2 months.
I thought when I was watching the game on TNT against New Orleans, I think they said he was at like 40, 48, 46 or 48, something like that. I know he was at 60 at the beginning of the year, but I think he's like at 46 or 48.
Yeah,
That's impressive for like he's like a 3-and-D guy on steroids because he can do everything else too. But like that's where he's gotten playing time for the Spurs at the beginning of his career, and now he's just evolved into this great all-around player. And Barkley thinks he's the best two-way player in the league.
Yeah. So one thing. First, he's shooting 47.8% from three. But I don't – like I just feel like people forget about Paul George. Like, Paul George is better offensively than Kawhi. And he's not – he was – like, remember, like, before the injury, people were talking about him on the heels of Kevin Durant and LeBron because he was arguably the best all-around – or best perimeter defender in the NBA. And then he was averaging like 26 points a game or whatever with that year with that Indiana lost to I think he lost to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals that year. With the Lance Stevenson blowing kisses. But like I just feel like people are forgetting about Paul George.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I might give Kawhi the edge at this exact moment. I think Paul still has a little bit of time to get back to where exactly he was at before the injury. He's playing great, but I don't know if he's at that exact level of consistency that he was at before he had the injury.
I think Paul George started out the year. I know on the OTG rankings he was probably ahead of LeBron and Durant to start the year. He started out guns blazing, and then I think just over time the efficiency has started to go down because of the role he's in with that team. He obviously doesn't get the great looks that Kawhi does or that Kevin Durant is afforded with Russell Westbrook playing by his side. So I just feel like Paul George is there in terms of ability, but on-court numbers and efficiency, I think he's a little bit behind those three small forwards. But like LeBron shooting, 28% from three this year? So like I think all the top three in terms of small forwards are interchangeable. And you can even probably do that with the overall rankings too in terms of the three small forwards that are on there.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George is shooting he's shooting 38. He's taking 7 threes a game, and he's shooting 38% from three. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That is pretty good, actually.
That is pretty impressive. I mean, he's shooting 44% from two. His effective field goal percentage is 49%.
And I was listening to a Pacers game, I want to say a week before the All-Star break, and they mentioned that fatigue kind of caught off to Paul George a little bit, not used to playing the whole season. So the All-Star break might have helped him out a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, and he's still like a year and a half off of it. I mean, that was a scary injury. You know, that's like same thing as a Kevin Ware injury when he was at Louisville in the tournament. I mean, that's scary. I feel like once this season over, I feel like he's really going to be in the groove and kind of like back to Paul Prime George, especially once he plays in the Olympics and everything.
Right. Once he has that full off season of where he's not really rehabbing, but he's healthy and can continue to get better condition, get better shape, whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to make a run for the number one spot throughout the season next year.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I wanted to point out I really like the underrated list, especially the number one choice. I think Rodney Hood in Utah doesn't give as much love as he definitely deserves. He's definitely one of the top wing players coming up right now.
Rodney Hood can play. Evan Fournier, who we talked a little bit about last podcast, really underrated.
He's like
I personally love Jay Crowder. I think he's like an all-around sort of guy who's continually improving in different aspects of his game.
Yeah,
Marvin Williams, Will Barton's been great all year. Marvin Williams has been sneaky good for Charlotte. Like no one expected that to be a good signing, but he's been playing well.
Crowder definitely has impressed me. I didn't know he had this much to his game. It seems like he keeps adding more and more to his game. So it seems like every year he's getting better. And you mentioned Marvin Williams. He's been great for them with all the injuries they had. He's able to fill in and play, give him that shooting at the 4 spot.
Any thoughts on overrated players, the top coaching jobs this season, or the top must-see players this season?
Yeah, overrated. I think the list is good. I mean, Bradley Beal. Yeah, I mean, he has star potential, but he doesn't play enough. Rondo's defense is like I think Rondo does a lot of things to kind of boost his stats. I mean, he's looking for a big payday this summer, so I can understand it. But his defense hasn't been that good this year. Um, Wiggins scores and he's got the potential too, but he doesn't do much else. And Chandler Parsons was kind of crappy for a while, coming back from that injury, but he's been pretty good the last few weeks, so he might make his way off
Yeah,
the list.
that's the one. After we put this on there, I was like, oh man, Chandler Parsons probably does not belong on this list.
Yeah, he's been
But
playing pretty well.
now that the minutes restriction is gone, he's been getting back to the old Chandler Parsons.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's definitely picked it up. What do you guys think is going to happen with Beal this summer? He's a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're Washington, you kind of gotta re-sign him because I don't.
Yeah, I think they'll have to
I
max
think
him.
I think they gotta
Yeah.
max him. I mean, you gotta hope that he can turn around and get healthy. I mean, he'll be paid what, like 22 million a year. It's like even if
Ridiculous.
if he can find a way to be healthy and play like 70 games, I think he's worth that money. But it's like he if he's missing like half a season again, it's just that I mean, but Washington I think is going to take a chance and re-sign him for the max.
If I'm not mistaken, did he get injured last night? I think he took a hard fall after a foul by Miles Turner.
He
Oh,
sprained
no.
his pelvis.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Sprained his pelvis, and it wasn't even a foul on Turner. Turner got a lot of ball and was kind
Yeah,
of
he got ball first.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
bizarre injury.
Dude, I don't know what that feels like.
It sounds uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah, like
Any other notable things on this list before we move on, guys?
I like that you gave Terry Stotts the credit in Portland. Like I think me and John were talking before the podcast started that they're just getting so much out of players that you didn't expect to get that much out of. And they're
Yeah.
getting more out of even their top player. Like Dame came in, I remember Parth we talked about in the preview. If they want to do good, Dame was going to have crazy stats, and he's doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Terry Stotts he should get Coach of the Year if they make the playoffs. I think he's done a really good job. That team, Brad Stevens, I think has done a good job. I like I like the entire list. I think Greg Popovich obviously could always be up there too. But a lot of good coaches this year.
Yeah, I tried to gauge preseason expectations and where the teams currently are. So, for example, of course, none of us expected Portland to be this good. The Celtics, I think, are still overachieving a little bit. I didn't think Dallas would be even in the playoff mix. I thought they would be, if they were in the mix, they'd be in line for like the 8th seed, which they might end up getting, but they're doing better than that right now. Toronto's been a pleasant surprise after the end to last season. And then I had to throw Luke Walton on there just because, come on, man, like he's not even a head coach.
Yeah, and I mean he's going to be probably the guy that gets a job, the first one to get a job this summer. I know the Lakers are definitely eyeing him pretty hard.
I'd be really surprised if he goes anywhere besides the Lakers.
Agreed.
Yeah, he's a West Coast guy, and I know he had ties to the Lakers as a player, so I think he's going there for sure.
If you don't agree with my rankings, feel free to submit your own. There's an option right there. You can check out the Google form, submit your own rankings, and then hopefully, if we have enough by the next month, we'll average them all out and throw up a collective rankings image up there. So yeah, be sure to do that. OTGbasketball.com. Check out the rankings page.
All right, so this next segment we have don't really have a sexy, witty name for it, other than it's hip hop meets the NBA, I guess you could say, where we each handpicked some rap songs and lyrics that we thought applied to certain players and maybe certain situations that are currently going on in the NBA. So I will start this segment off, and my first song is by a group called Gangstar, who I'm sure most people don't know. They were a rap group from the 90s. They have a lot of good stuff, though, so if you like rap, especially old school rap, I think everybody should check them out. But the song is called Moment of Truth, and it applies to Damian Lillard.
What, where, and why? See, when you're shining, some chumps will wanna dull ya. Always selfish, jealous punks will wanna pull ya down, just like some shellfish in the bucket, cause they love it to see your ass squirm like a worm. But
So I picked that song basically because I know I saw an Instagram post by Damian Lillard, and he was talking about his new shoes. And he called the colorway static because he chooses to stay away from the noise of the press and everything. And I feel like, but the song has a lot of other meanings too. If you listen to it, it talks about a guy going through a lot of anxiety or whatever, and basically just rising to the occasion. I think Dame, a lot of uncertainty coming into this season. They were supposed to be a terrible team, and they're in the playoff hunt. And he's, if it wasn't for Steph, I think he'd be an MVP candidate. He's putting up a great year, and I think he's rising to the occasion. He's making the most of his moment of truth.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it just kind of fits his personality. Like you said, he tries to ignore that kind of stuff. He listens to his interview sometimes. Like, he's always about, getting out of where he was from and getting to the top of the NBA.
Yeah, I like that choice for Lillard.
All right, so the next song, I'm sure most of our listeners have heard. It's called Legend by Drake.
When I pull up on a nigga, tell that nigga bad back. I'm too good with these words, watch a nigga backtrack. If I die, all I know is I'm a motherfucking legend. It's too late.
So the lyrics don't quite apply to Steph, other than when I pull up on a bleep, tell that bleep to back. I mean, I guess, he's pulling up for a jumper or something. But I just thought in general the song being called Legend, he says, if I die, all I know is I'm a mother bleeping legend, and I just kind of thought that fits Steph perfectly. I mean, he's kind of changing the game, and if, by God, something terrible happened to him, he would go down as a legend, as, one of the top players of all time. I think you can make that argument now, especially if he continues on this pace. But he just, he's an icon. I think he's forever going to be an icon in the NBA.
Yeah, the title's just perfect for him. I think Drake's like, I'm too good with these words, and Steph could be like, I'm too good with this jump shot.
Yeah, exactly. When I was listening to it, I was thinking, I was like, I wish I could just switch out words. Yeah, it's perfect.
But the whole song in general just kind of matches up to Steph's life.
Yeah, I agree with if he has an ankle injury and isn't able to play anymore, he would go down as probably, if not the greatest shooter, at least a top 5 shooter from what he's just done up to this point.
I think he's already the greatest shooter. I think he is, in my opinion. I mean, there's been some great shooters, but the guy, especially this season, he's just shattering the 3-point record for most.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. He's just demolishing that record, so I think that alone can really earn him that top spot. You know what I mean? If you want to make the argument.
I'm personally big on longevity, so I'd like to see Steph do it for a longer period of time. But if you were to line up the best shooters for a pickup game and I had to pick one, I'm going with Steph first. If that makes sense. It's kind of like you're the best shooter in terms of pure skill, but you haven't had the best shooting career as of yet just because of the longevity. That's the kind of difference I like to make here, just like the line I draw.
I gotcha. Just so somebody can't come in the NBA for a few years, do something crazy, and then be considered the best. You got to do it.
Right. Yeah. Just like Bo Jackson. For those, I wasn't old enough to see Bo Jackson, but everyone that did see Bo Jackson was like, oh my God, he's the best running back of all time, the best running back I've ever seen. But obviously he doesn't belong in that category with those other running backs who did it for 10 plus years when Bo only did it for a couple. It's here and then it's gone.
I got you.
I think longevity in the grand scheme of things matters a ton.
Yeah, I agree. But he's been doing it for a while though. I mean, he's the first couple years he had the injuries, but he's basically been doing it for I think 5 years now, 6 years. So I think if he can do it for 2 more years, I think he's hands down the greatest shooter of all time.
I don't even think he has to keep this pace up.
Right, yeah.
If he's just on a normal, he's been out of control this year, but I think if he's just on a normal Steph Curry pace, he'll go down as the greatest shooter. He'll have the longevity.
Yeah. Okay, so my next song, another song that I think most of our viewers or listeners will recognize, but it's off Kanye West's new album, Life of Pablo, and it's called Real Friends. Here's the piece that I picked for my particular topic.
Many jealous, real friends. There's not many of us. We smile at each other, but how many honest? Trust issues. Switch up the number. I can't be bothered. I cannot blame you for having an angle. I ain't got no issues. I'm just doing my thing. Hope you doing your thing too. I'm a dick.
I kind of just thought that song was perfect for the Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire so-called drama that came out this week. It talks about one person being jealous, and I think Amari probably had some jealousy because he was the main guy that went to New York, and then Melo had the whole trade thing where he wanted to go to New York, and I think him being there, he became like I think the prime star, and I think he stole the spotlight from Amari at the time. And it talks about Melo's like, I hope you're doing your thing. And so I was thinking, he hopes Amari's doing his thing in Miami, and Melo's doing his thing in New York, but the Knicks still suck. So that was kind of like my reasoning for that.
Yeah, no, I definitely could see that because Amari was on top of New York. Like, he brought the Knicks back at that point because they didn't have much success, and he at least had them around the 500 mark. They're doing pretty well with the pieces they had, and then Carmelo comes along and takes a spotlight. So definitely can see the connection there.
I mean, they would have been all right if the Knicks didn't trade the entire farm for Melo.
Yeah. I think the only guy that really, I guess it hurt them for a while because there was all those rookie deals, or work so well with their salary cap. But the one guy I wish they didn't get rid of, but I see why they had to, was Gallinari. I would have loved to see play Amari at the 5, and then Gallo at the 4, the 3, and then Melo and vice versa. I think that would have been such a solid front court offensively. But you got to get rid of him. He was like the prime young player on New York's roster at the time.
Yeah, that was the piece they had to give up.
All right, moving on to some of my songs that I chose for this segment. We'll get into the first one. It's J. Cole's part in A Star Is Born off of Jay-Z's Blueprint 3.
Hey, and could I be a star? Does fame in this game have to change who you are? Or could I be the same one who came from a faraway life just to make it in these Broadway lights? Now I'm shining in the broad daylight. Go figure.
So I think this fits perfectly with Kawhi. He's that low-key kind of guy, low maintenance, just wants to handle his business without any fanfare, without any paparazzi or anything like that. And it's kind of him saying, I'm here, I'm a star, but do I have to change the way I act because I'm a star? And I think he's in the perfect place where he doesn't have to do that because he's had people like Tim Duncan who've been stars before and handled themselves in a low-key sort of way. So I think this is a perfect scenario for him, and I think it describes the song describes him perfectly.
Yeah, I think this song is perfect for Kawhi too. I think it was either you or Nick said it before we started the podcast, but I think J. Cole kind of just fits Kawhi's persona pretty well. J. Cole isn't really a flashy guy. He just enjoys what he does. And I know since he's become one of the bigger rappers, he hasn't really, changed his style in any way. He's just nobody really even though people know he's good, you never see him, in the media or doing anything stupid. He's just he just does his thing, and people they appreciate him, appreciate his work.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I feel like they match J. Cole and Kawhi, and the song is fitting because, this is a season, Kawhi's becoming a star. He's starting to get the recognition that he deserves. He probably deserves maybe a little more, but it'll come.
Also, let's not sell him short by calling him a star. This man is a bona fide superstar.
Yeah, very right.
I know he said that he needs some longevity, which I agree with, but he'll get it, and he's getting there. So, superstar, Kawhi Leonard. Next I'm going with is Waves off Kanye's The Life of Pablo.
Sun don't shine in the shade. Bird can't fly in a cage. Even when somebody go away, the feelings don't really go away. That's just the way.
And just because people go away does not mean the feelings go away. This is LeBron and D Wade right here. LeBron just spent his off days working out with D Wade in Miami. And I don't think LeBron's ever leaving Cleveland again, but just his cryptic tweets and hanging out with D Wade, who are buddies since they've entered the league together in 2003. I think LeBron and Wade and some of probably the teammates really enjoy getting a rise out of the media and fans like this. But they miss each other, let's be honest here. I personally, as a Miami Heat fan, hope LeBron can make his way back to Miami. That'd be pretty cool. But I don't see it happening. But it does. This song does describe them perfectly.
Yeah, I think they missed each other a little too much. Wouldn't they both have their shirts off in the video? Like, what is it with all these, especially LeBron? These guys are all working out with their shirts off. Like, I've never worked out like indoors with my shirt off. Like, unless it's like 100 degrees outside and I'm running, why would I ever have my shirt off indoors? But,
Most gyms, I don't think, will let you have your shirt off.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
even
right.
if you're the biggest, even if you're like The Rock, you can't have your shirt off. But LeBron's just taking video. He probably just takes his shirt off just for the video.
Dude, maybe because like when you see The Rock post on whatever social media that he posts on with him working out, he has at least a crop top or something on,
Yeah, like
like
one of
a
those
tank
skinny
top. He has
tanks.
something on.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
whatever, do your thing, LeBron.
Yeah.
All right,
You know, LeBron loves that spotlight. But I thought this was a good song choice right here.
the final song I had, throwback Jay-Z from the Black Album. What more can I say?
Bust the rhyme with the real shit you get when you bust down my lines. Add that to the fact I went plat a bunch of times that by my influence on pop culture. I supposed to be number one on everybody's list. We'll see what happens when I no longer exist.
This is Kobe Bryant. Who else could it be in the league? One of the greatest of all time.
And it's just like this just fits Kobe perfectly. Like this just like whole like persona and feel of the song. It just makes me think straight up of Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the part at the end, where Jay-Z goes, "Man, bleep this," and you can tell he like drops the mic. I think that's perfect for Kobe. Just like you can just tell, I can just see Kobe doing that, just like slamming the ball, being like, "Yeah, my career's done. I'm out."
Yeah, very true.
Very fitting of Kobe.
And even Jay-Z and Kobe, I guess you could connect a little bit. I mean, Jay-Z's done like a lot, but I don't think a lot of people consider him like all time the best ever. And the same thing with Kobe. I don't think anyone considers him the best player ever. But they both have done a lot, and they've consistently been great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean both, top 5, top 7, whatever, in their respective crafts. I think anybody can argue that for sure.
Agreed.
All right, now for my two choices, I went with Drake songs. First one I did, Drake, 6 p.m. in New York.
Yeah. Lately I feel the haters eating away at my confidence. They scream out my failures and whisper my accomplishments.
I thought this little line was perfect for James Harden. I feel like everybody's hating on the guy no matter what he does. He's an all-star. I think he's all NBA team, and he's probably the best shooting guard in the NBA.
Yeah, just James Harden. I mean, I think some of the hate and criticism that he gets is well deserved. I mean, he kind of his defense has been better, I think, in the past couple weeks. But for the first 3 quarters, whatever, of the season, he was horrible on defense, and that was a thing that he had always been criticized for. But he stepped it up last year. So I think some of the criticism is well deserved. But I can see him, kind of feeling like Drake in that song, where he's just like tired of all the criticism. He's just trying to live his life and play some ball.
Yeah, and of course he had the media wave with dating a Kardashian earlier in the year, and now Khloe just put him on blast for cheating on her, even though she was married the entire time that they were dating. So I don't quite understand what's going on with that situation.
That family is just stupid. Like that's the only word. It's just a stupid family.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't understand the Kardashians either.
Yeah. Oh my God.
My next song, Drake, Now and Forever.
It's over, yeah, it's over. Yeah, I'm leaving, I'm gone. I can't stay here no more. And I can't sleep on the floor. Man, I'm leaving, I'm leaving. You know I got my reasons. Yeah, I'm leaving, yeah, I'm leaving, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm gone.
So I thought this was perfect for Carmelo and the Knicks. I feel like the Knicks have been pretty bad after the All-Star break. Carmelo's starting to get frustrated. He's sick of being at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, so he's going to want out this summer.
Yeah, and I think Melo's done a pretty good job of not vocaling his frustrations with the team up until like this week where he was talking about D Wade and LeBron and Bosh. He's like, I see all these guys, and they're what he's kind of has some self-reflection going on where he's saying like, what am I doing wrong? And you can just really sense that he's really frustrated. And I think he's kind of faced with a conflict of he wants to be in New York for his post career because he wants to grow his businesses and all that stuff, but he also wants to be in a winning environment and on a winning team. So I think it's just kind of coming to a head where unless the Knicks show some real promise or unless something happens in free agency, I feel like he might walk and waive his no trade clause.
John, you're the Knicks fan. What do you want?
I think they're on two different wavelengths, and I think unless the Knicks get like KD and Westbrook or whatever in free agency, they're not going to be a championship contender because the Warriors are young and they're good. The Spurs have two really good young pieces. The Cavs are good in the East, and there's some really good East teams that are young and getting better. So like, I would ideally like to see Melo go to another good team like Boston. I think he'd be a great fit on Boston. I think he gives them that go-to scorer. Him and Isaiah would be really tough together. And Melo showed you this year that he can commit defensively and commit to improving his game in other areas besides scoring. And I think maybe getting some first-round picks back or whatever, just getting some – because the Knicks need to get younger. I mean, they have a potential like star in Porzingis, who's already a star pretty much because of his notoriety. But like if they just need to get some young pieces and get younger, and Melo's 31 years old, I think, or like 32 in May. So it's like, they're just on different wavelengths.
And I think Boston can give them some great assets back, including players and picks. You might be able to get a decent player out of there too. They have a lot of guys in that front court, and the back court. So
yeah, I feel like if you're the Knicks, it's like, well, there's a lot of good things by getting rid of Melo. We create a lot of cap space, so it's like all we would need is something like maybe like a first-round pick and maybe something to make the deal work financially, like getting like Avery Bradley's contract or something. And I feel like they would I don't think it would take. It's not like because Melo's not in his prime. I don't think it would take some crazy offer, like a Godfather offer, kind of to get the Knicks to get rid of Melo. I think it could take something, just there doesn't have to be anything crazy. Basically, is what I think. All right, so that does it for our hip hop meets the NBA segment. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you guys disagree with our choices and maybe why we chose certain songs for certain NBA players, maybe leave us some comments on Twitter. I think we can tell that Nick's favorite rapper is probably Drake.
Yeah, Nick's a Drake guy.
I am. And I guess you guys, I don't know. I know parts of Kanye guy. I don't know about you, John.
Yeah, I like I go in spurts. I like a lot of random stuff. I like Big Crit. I like a lot of old school stuff. I like Tribe Called Quest and Gangstar. J. Cole is up there. Kendrick is up. Kendrick's new stuff isn't so much for me, but I like his old stuff a lot. Like Overly Dedicated and Section 80 were like I'm big fans of. But yeah.
I'm a big J. Cole guy too. I'd probably have him at my number 2.
Yeah, J. Cole's old stuff, his mixtape stuff is incredible.
All right, Nick, let's get right into games of the week. Last week, John picked, and he was 5-0. Nick, you were 3-2. So that brings mine and John's overall record to 49-33, and your record to 37-45. So a little bit under 500. Hopefully you can creep back up there, and using this week as a springboard to do that. Let's get right into it. Monday, March 7th, 8:30, League Pass, Clippers at Mavs. And all these numbers and stats I'm about to give you are accurate as of Sunday morning. So just be aware of that. The Clips are 1 point better on offense in terms of their offensive rating. They're 3 points better in terms of their defensive rating. They're 6-4 in the last 10. The Mavs are 5-5. It's not a back-to-back for the Clippers, but it is a back-to-back for the Mavs. They'll play in Denver tonight.
I'm going to go with the Clippers. I think the Clippers are the better team, and they're not coming off the back-to-back, so I think it's an easy choice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the Clips as well. But in this exact situation earlier in the year, the Mavs won this game in Dallas, and that was the original return of DeAndre to Dallas after the emoji-filled summertime battle that they had. Summertime kidnapping, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think this game on League Pass is definitely worth watching just because you will probably get to see the introductions. And so you'll get the parade of boos, which I think will be really entertaining. So be sure to tune in to that game on Monday. Next game I have, Thursday, March 10th, 10:30, TNT. Cleveland at Los Angeles. The Lakers are playing. And this is the final time we'll get to see LeBron versus Kobe. And now I would give you some stats here, but I was lazy and didn't feel like finding it just because I thought the obvious choice would be, Cleveland, because the Lakers are one of the worst teams in the league. And then what did the Lakers do today? They beat the Warriors. So, making me feel a little stupid here, but you're going to have to make this pick without any stats.
I'm still going to pick Cleveland. I don't think the Lakers can pull off 2 miracles in 1 week.
I'm going to go bold and pick the Lakers.
Let's go. Imagine that.
I want to be bold here. I have a little cushion in terms of my lead, so I want to pick the Lakers. I'm expecting a vintage Kobe performance in his last showcase against LeBron. So hopefully we get that, because that'd be really fun. We were robbed of a NBA Finals matchup between the two. It's sad that we never got that, but this will have to do, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be nice. Hopefully Kobe comes to play that night, and it's a nice, memorable performance.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And you always have Inside the NBA afterwards. So if the game sucks, you'll at least get those guys clowning on the highlights afterwards. So it's a win-win. All right, moving on. Friday, March 11th, 10:30, League Pass. Blazers at Warriors. The Warriors are 6 points better in offensive rating, 3 points better in defensive rating. Their last 10, the Dubs are 9-1. The Blazers are 7-3. It's not a back-to-back. The Blazers are coming into Sunday on a 2-game losing streak. The Dubs were on a 7-game win streak until they lost to the Lakers. And their season series is 1-1. The last time Portland played the Warriors, they beat them by 30. So who do you have in this rematch?
I think the Warriors are going to come out with some vengeance. They're going to come out hot, ready. They took this loss to the Lakers. They're not going to forget about the loss they had to Portland earlier. So I'm definitely going Golden State.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Warriors too, but I still think this will be a really fun matchup between Lillard and Curry. I know Golden State likes to hide Curry on the lesser backcourt player, but it's kind of hard to do that when you have CJ McCollum in the game too, because both guys will go at Curry for sure. So this will be a fun matchup. The backcourt's great.
Steph versus Dame alone is worth watching the game.
Right. You'll get back-to-back 40-foot shots, and both these dudes can make them. Lillard makes them with pretty good consistency too.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of like an underrated facet of Lillard's game, like because Steph's such a crazy shooter. People don't realize how like Lillard hits crazy shots all the time.
Yeah, he does.
He gets hot too. Like he'll just drop like 5 threes in a row out of nowhere.
Yeah, they have similarities in their game, but I would say Steph's the better shooter.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Lillard is right there, man. Like he can shoot the ball.
I mentioned this to John off the podcast. I just imagine imagine Westbrook and Curry weren't in the NBA. I mean, Dame might be in that top conversation for number 1 spot, along with like Chris Paul and Lowry. He's that good of a player.
Yeah, Lillard's been good this year, and I think he'll continue to improve.
Agreed. I think he maybe could use a little bit more size. You know how Curry kind of put on a little bit more muscle this summer? I think that could maybe benefit Dame.
Curry put on more muscle this summer?
Yeah, he put on a little bit of size. He mentioned that. That was one thing he felt like he needed to add to his game a little bit.
Interesting. I'm sure it's a wiry strength because I haven't noticed it in his body.
Yeah.
But hey, as long as you get stronger, I think I read a report or an article maybe a year or so ago in which Curry had the second highest dead bar. Is it a dead bar? No, it's like the octagon bar deadlift. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay, it's
that trap bar.
Trap bar. Yeah.
The trap bar deadlift. He was like behind Festus Ezeli on the team in terms of highest trap bar deadlift. So that's an interesting stat. So that's pretty strong, man. He's got a strong core.
Yeah, he's packing a punch. He might not have a lot, but it's that core strength that'll carry you a lot.
All right, Saturday's the primetime matchup of the week. 8:30 ABC, OKC at San Antonio. OKC's 2 points better in offensive rating. The Spurs are 8 points better in defensive rating. The Spurs are down at 97.6. I don't think there's another team under 100. So the Spurs have been dominant on defense. The last 10, the Spurs are 9-1. OKC has been stumbling out of the gate, out of the All-Star break gate. 4-6 in their last 10. Not a back-to-back for either team. But coming into this Sunday, OKC has lost 2 in a row, and the Spurs have won 8. I believe OKC won today against Milwaukee, so that'll change. Obviously, the streak will change, and their season series win-loss totals are OKC has 1 and the Spurs haven't won a game against them. They'll play, I think this is one of 3 more times that they'll play this season, and the first time OKC won was opening week. So who do you have in this Saturday night primetime matchup on ABC?
I picked OKC last week against Golden State. They let me down. So I'm going to go with San Antonio. Even when OKC they blew that game against the Clippers too last week, and it even seems even when they have the lead and things are looking good, they can just all of a sudden collapse. So I don't think that'll happen with the Spurs.
It's that offense, man. They just stopped trusting each other. They looked incredible today. It was against Milwaukee, one of the worst defensive teams in the league, but they looked incredible. They were moving the ball. They were trusting each other. I say it continues, and OKC gets one on San Antonio here.
I'd like to see them get one, to be honest. I think they really need it for their confidence, but I just don't know if it'll happen.
They do need it. It's been a tough couple of weeks for OKC, losing two members of their family.
Yeah,
to death. True. So, yeah, they need any sort of positivity that they can get. Final game of the week, Sunday, March 13th, 6 p.m., League Pass, Utah at Sacramento. It's actually a wash on offensive rating. Go either way. Defensive rating, Utah is about 3 points better than the Kings. Both have been stumbling in their last 10. Utah's 3-7. The Kings are 4-6. Not a back-to-back for either team. Utah's coming into Sunday on a 1-game win streak. And the Kings have just lost one. But the season series is 2-0 in favor of Sacramento. So who do you have winning this pivotal matchup as they both look to try and catch the Rockets for the 8th seed in the playoffs?
The Jazz are a weird team. Last year, coming out of the All-Star break, I think they had one of the best records in the league. And this year, they're kind of stumbling out. They do have a few injuries. The Kings are an interesting team. I mean, win or lose, there's always something going on in the court. If it's not Rondo not inbounding the ball or DeMarcus Cousins trying to punch Steven Adams in the head. But I'm going to probably go with Utah.
Yeah, that Rondo thing was great. I'm not sure what he was doing, but it was highly entertaining.
I didn't even understand. I don't understand. Why didn't he throw the ball in?
I don't know. I have no idea what he was thinking. I actually do want to know, so I'll look that up after we get off this podcast. But I doubt it's out there. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Sacramento at home.
They could definitely do it because they're a weird team. That could just be the night they come out and play. And they got a great player in DeMarcus Cousins, so any night he decides to go off. But he'll be going off against 2 pretty good front court players in Gobert and Favors.
Favors is good, man.
Yeah,
they're
I know.
Both good. They have a good collection of young talent. I think once they get all their pieces, and if they can get a quality starting point guard, I don't know if Exum will be that guy when he comes back. But if he is, and if they do get someone, this is going to be a really good team to look out for in the Western Conference.
I definitely feel like a great point guard could take them to the next level. If that's Exum or if they pick up somebody, just having those 2 bigs and quality wing players. So they're set up for definitely a good future.
All right, let's do a quick recap. We both have the Clips over the Mavericks. I have the Lakers beating the Cavs, and you are going with Cleveland. We both have the Dubs beating the Blazers. I have Thunder on Saturday night, and you have the Spurs. And on Sunday, I have the Kings beating the Jazz, and you are going with Utah in that matchup.
That is correct.
Those are the games of the week. Be sure to tune in. Check out the actual article on otgbasketball.com. It'll be up probably when this podcast is up, so you can go directly and check it out. But that's all I had for games of the week, Nick.
All right, Parth, that wraps it up for today. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you next Monday.